Hey, what's up, guys? So, this is gonna be my long-awaited review on the Scyrox V8. Now, this mouse has been my main mouse for about 7 months now, and I bought it in September, and I've had it until February this year. So, this mouse has been with me for a while. You can see the coating is starting to like shine a bit. That just shows how much wear and tear this mouse has been through. I have put this thing through thick and thin. Um, just before I start the review, also, I just do want to mention that I have taken out the side buttons, but I did use the mouse with them on. Now the reason I took them out was just because of weight, and also the fact that when I fingertip, my finger kind of overlaps on the side buttons, and it would interfere with my grip if I had them on, so I took them out. So yeah, first category I guess is QC, which is probably the most important. People are probably most worried about when they heard that this mouse was 40 grams and at the price point it is. But good news, the QC even now is holding up. Like, no matter how much I squeeze the mouse, no matter where I try to fucking just pop it, just try to like squeeze it, there's no creaking, there's nothing. There is a bit of it's a bit of button wobble, but it's not really noticeable in my opinion, and it doesn't really interfere with gameplay. Click implementation could be better. It's a bit, it's just like towards the front, you can feel a bit of like a. It just feels like China a bit. I don't know. It isn't great, but towards the back, it does feel quite nice, quite snappy. The encoder implementation's nice. Scroll wheel hasn't had any defects. It's nice, clear steps. So yeah, QC is great. The mouse feels amazing. No issues with the sensor at all. It's using a 3950. It's extremely well implemented, obviously because the parent company of Lamzu, of Scyrox is Lamzu, so obviously the implementation of the sensor is going to be amazing. So yeah, and sensor's amazing. No issues with the sensor at all. So now I want to talk about coating. Now the coating on this thing is actually insane. Like I can grab this mouse and I've used this mouse for 6 months. I have literally been putting this thing through like just the most disgusting like greasy gameplay ever on Kovacs, and it has just been phenomenal. Like the coating, it still lasts. If still, it doesn't feel exactly as grippy as it was when I got it, but what I'd compare this coating to is it's like a Viper V3 in white, but like a little less grippy. But yeah, the coating's great. It doesn't wear out at all, in my opinion. It feels almost as good as when I got it. After a while though, I have noticed that this coating isn't very good for people with slippery hands because what ends up happening, I feel like this coating is generally just made for people with drier hands because this coating is very, very like prone to like becoming like very slippery if you have sweaty hands, but if you don't, then you won't experience that. Um, but yeah, that's just all about the coating. Now the weight and the weight balancing. Now this thing is 40 grams, and that just feels great. My copy personally is 37 because I took out the side buttons and I'm using dot skates, but out of the box it's 40 grams. Um, the weight balancing is great. It doesn't feel noticeably front heavy. Like if I try to hold it like this, it's not teetering to any sides. Like a certain mouse, Attack Shock X3. Um, but yeah, the weight balance is great. You may think when the mouse came out, I heard people on Pericord saying that the back caused the back it to be like really back heavy, but I just it's that's not true. It just is not true at all. The mouse is perfectly balanced. It just feels great in the hand. There's no part of the mouse that feels heavier than the other. It's just perfectly balanced. I want to talk about software now. It's using a web-based software. Now the web-based software on the mouse is very good. It's basically got everything you need. It's a bit messy. It's not as good as I would want it to be. It does look kind of like it does look like I can make it, and I've only been making some websites for a year, but it's a good website. You know, it's got everything you need. Um, Other things, the 8K performance on this mouse it is very good. I haven't had any issues with it in games where 8K is supported. Now the battery drain on 8K is very bad. I won't lie. This mouse lasts like a day before it starts flashing for like red constantly on 8K. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend using this mouse on 8K. Currently, I'm using 2K on all my games, and it just feels phenomenal. Like it just feels great. Probably the fastest mouse I've used other than some wide mice like the OP1, XM2, and XM1R, and also maybe the Viper 8K. I don't know how fast that is exactly, but I would assume this is faster though. Yeah, honestly, overall, this is just a great mouse. Also, I forgot to talk about side buttons. When I did have the side buttons, they did feel great. They don't feel thin. Honestly, when I had them in, they didn't feel like they were thin. They felt somewhat wide, which is kind of the reason why I took them out. But if you were wondering if the side buttons were bad, or if that was the reason to talk about, no, that they were great. Side buttons were amazing. No issues with them at all. They were great side buttons. Also shape. The shape on this mouse. People keep comparing it to the Sora V2, and it just angers me because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You see, the Sora V2, it somewhat is like a scaled down XM2, and this just isn't. It's not. Like, maybe when you look at it from the bottom, it kind of is, but it's just clearly an X2H Mini. Like, the hump is ginormous. The XM2's hump is not like this. It's quite literally just in between the XM2 Mini or XM2H Mini and the X2H. The X2H overall, when it was kind of like, I saw Juki's video on it. He didn't really enjoy he didn't actually enjoy the shape of the X2H, but I feel like that was because it was too big. And with the Scyrox, because it's kind of an in between the X2H and the X2H Mini, I feel like it's just perfect in terms of sizing. Like this, I have noticed, because I fingertip, there have been times where my grip has kind of like alternated between like this really weird like claw fingertip hybrid where like my finger will kind of like rest here on the hump because the hump is that pronounced. But overall, it doesn't really matter because overall my grip on this mouse is pretty good. I would kind of like if I would have preferred if the sides around here were a bit more flat and they weren't like going inwards. I think they're outwards. Yeah, they're outwards. But overall, it's fine. It wasn't really made for me. It was made for claw grippers, but for fingertips, fine as well. I also quite like for fingertip that it has these like flares that go outwards at the top of the mouse. That really helps for fingertip because it kind of helps you like have some comfort grooves here. The only other adjustment I would make to the shape is probably actually okay, so on some mice they kind of have like these comfort grooves that kind of curve outwards. I feel like that would have been great on this mouse. I don't know why. I just feel like the steepness of the clicks, it's a very steep mouse. You kind of have to get used to it. I feel like the comfort grooves could have made the mouse a bit more comfortable, but overall the shape is just great. I wouldn't really like, I can't really complain considering they did just rob the X2H's, shape, but they could have just, made some differences. But overall, it's a great shape. So yeah, overall, I'd give this mouse like a solid like 9.3 because just the price is just crazy. You can get this thing on AliExpress for £50. Now that is just stupidly cheap. You cannot tell me like that isn't a good deal for what this mouse offers. Oh yeah, also the stock skates that came with this mouse, they're trash. Like every Chinese mouse, it's just trash. They're just really bad stock skates. I wouldn't recommend using them. Currently, I'm using Ultra Glide RSs, and they're great. They're very good. They perform extremely well. Review on those soon. Actually, I'll review on all my skates soon. But yeah, overall, it's a great mouse. I would highly recommend it for the people that I think this mouse is for. Are kind of people that have like a really like aggressive claw. If you have larger hands, because I kind of aggressive claw this personally, and it does feel quite nice. Yeah, because of the hump, it's just really big, and I also think this mouse is good for fingertip too. Just if you kind of put your fingers towards the front a lot more with mice. Because I feel like if you put your fingers a bit more towards the back, it does feel a bit, it does feel sort of strange, like the hump just kind of making contact with your pinky. It's just not, it's not great. But yeah, overall Skyrox 9.5 out of 10. Great mouse. I would recommend this 100%. Next review is on this beauty, my custom Equate Plus V2. Probably the best pad I've ever used. Review on that soon. But yeah, see you guys.